From training to performing, join our big league conversation. Welcome to the CSP Elite Baseball Development Podcast with your host, Eric Cressey.
Welcome back to the CSP Elite Baseball Development Podcast. I'm your host, Eric Cressey, and this is episode 45. We've got a longtime CSP athlete who made his major league debut this past September, so he's got some awesome wisdom to share on lessons he learned on his path to the major leagues. With that said, I do want to give you a quick heads up that our new collaboration with New Balance, the Minimus Prevail CSP, is now available at newbalance.com. It's a limited edition shoe that we created together and something that's been really popular already as a training shoe for many of the followers on my website and the athletes that we work with in person. It's a limited edition run, so only a little over 1,000 pairs were made and several sizes are already sold out, but you can still get some at newbalance.com if you want to check it out. Just search for Minimus Prevail CSP and I think you'll be really pleased with what you pick up. This episode is brought to you by Athletic Greens. It's an all-in-one superfood supplement with 75 whole food sourced ingredients to support your body's nutritional needs across 5 critical areas: energy, immunity, gut health, hormonal support, and healthy aging. I'm an avid user of Athletic Greens myself, in spite of the fact that I tend to be a supplement minimalist. To me, this is a product that is much more like whole food nutritional insurance as opposed to a true supplement. The ingredients have been carefully selected at the highest quality, most natural source. You get essential vitamins and minerals, digestive enzymes, prebiotics, probiotics, and that's the zero compromise approach from the company. It's plant-based, sourced from whole foods at the highest quality, so you won't find harmful chemicals, artificial colors or flavors, preservatives, or added sugar. Really, it's perfect for folks who are gluten and dairy free, paleo, keto, vegan friendly, great for people who are intermittent fasting, all that fun stuff. Personally, I love it for obviously our athletes who don't get enough nutritional benefits from fruits and vegetables because they don't eat enough. So it's a way to kind of plug in holes in diets. But also I really like it for our college and professional athletes who may have complex travel schedules where quality food options aren't always at hand. On a personal level, I'm a husband, father of 3, and an entrepreneur. We split our time between 2 states, and I'm also still an avid lifter. So life is inherently crazy, and it can be stressful, and sleep deprivation is definitely something that we encounter. So I rely on Athletic Greens for part of my immune support and believe firmly that it's made a big difference in keeping me healthy in spite of how crazy our lifestyle is. They've got a great offer in place. If you head to athleticgreens.com/Cressey, they'll get you 20 free travel packets with your purchase. Again, that's athleticgreens.com/Cressey, CRESSEY, and you can claim your special offer. Today's guest grew up in Long Island, New York, and was drafted by the Los Angeles Dodgers in the 37th round of the 2013 Major League Baseball draft. He chose not to sign and instead attended Boston College, where he pitched for 3 years. After logging only 12 innings as a freshman, he became the team's closer as a sophomore and advanced to the Friday night starter role as a junior. He recorded a 2.06 ERA and was drafted by the New York Mets in the first round of the 2016 MLB draft. After being named the Mets Minor League Pitcher of the Year in 2018, he was traded to the Mariners in December of 2018. He made his Major League debut with the Mariners on September 12, 2019, and finished the year with 4 starts under his belt. He's been a Cressey Sports Performance athlete since 2014 and has trained at both of our facilities during that time. Please welcome to the show, Justin Dunn. All right, welcome to the show, Justin.
Thank you for having me.
We're going to have a lot of fun, and I appreciate you cutting out time. I know you got a bullpen coming up, and you're in the office at a facility back home in New York. So if we hear batted balls, that's the next generation of stars getting ready in the background, right?
Yeah, I sincerely apologize.
No, you're good. It's all good. You've been to MLB Network, and now you have like little leaguers in the background. So you've run the entire spectrum over the last day.
Exactly.
All right, so actually that's a good jumping off point because you said you were a self-described runt growing up. So let's talk about this. I met you when you were, 19. How small are we talking? Like when you were in high school?
So my mom is 5'3". My grandmother was 4'11". When I was a freshman in high school, I was not taller than either of them. So that should paint the picture going into my freshman year. My sophomore year I was the same height as my mom, so I was 5'3". Junior year, I was like 5'5", 5'6". hit a little growth spurt into my junior summer, so I was 5'8", and then senior year I jumped into about 5'10", 5'11", but I was always skinny. I was like, I'm probably pushing 100 pounds my freshman year, 120 my sophomore, and then by my senior I was 150 pounds.
That's wild.
So yeah, I was small, I was skinny, but arm always kind of worked pretty good. So I was fortunate enough that it bailed me out in a lot of situations.
It's almost a blessing in disguise because you shot up over a foot, but you did it so gradually. There wasn't like that 8-inch growth spurt where you went through the clumsy stage, right?
No, not at all. I mean, my brother's going through it right now, and he's running around like Bambi, but I was lucky.
So, and talk to me, I mean, obviously you said the arm always worked. Were you a guy that started getting looks recruiting wise when you were that small as a sophomore, or did it come later as, you kind of grew into your own and, the arm speed picked up a little bit?
Looks started to come my junior year.
Mm-hmm.
I was always getting a little interest from schools, but like, they're like, maybe, we got to see how the height plays out and all that. But, I was very fortunate that Gambino saw it from day one.
Mm-hmm.
And he believed in me and he saw my dad. My dad's a fairly tall guy and he's 6'3", 6'4". So whenever we'd walk around together, he would just keep looking at my dad. So like, I'm hoping he's going to get to this size at some point. So, I got lucky, but no, I didn't really get serious until my junior year when I was about 5'8".
And, what I think is cool about you is you had kind of there was a steady linear trend in terms of your velocity, kind of with body weight and training experience. Talk about kind of how the velo changed from freshman year up until obviously where you are now.
Yeah. So when I first started, I was like 70 miles an hour, but I would put on about 7 miles an hour every year preceding that. I went from like 70 to like 77. Then I started hitting 80. And then by my junior year was the first time I touched 90. And then that summer I was touching 92. By my senior year I was sitting 90, 92. And then when we started to get together, my freshman year in college was when I made another like big jump and went from sitting 90, 92 to I was hitting 95, 96, touching 97, which I attribute that to the weightlifting because I was always just a big long toss guy, rest and jigger long toss. So, when I finally started getting into the gym, I feel like the explosiveness and the strength started to add on, and that's really what caused the ball to start jumping even more.
Yeah, we always joke about, you're naturally kind of a springy guy. I know your brother's a heck of a hoops player too. And there's an old saying, it's easier to make a fast guy strong than it is to make a strong guy fast. Is that what you found? Like you were always that guy that, you were athletic, you played hoops, things like that, but it wasn't until the strength and the body weight went in the right places that good things happened?
Yes. When I was coming up, I was actually slow. I was athletic, but super, super slow. I was like still growing into my body. So the speed came when I finally hit puberty and matured into my shoe size and everything. And then once we started working out and like really taking it serious, and I was dedicating it like every day, the strength came on really easy. I started off, I mean, I still remember this day you started making fun of me for having younger kids lift more weight than me. But it happened fast and kind of has stayed ever since.
I distinctly remember day one. I think it was like the summer after your freshman year at BC.
Yep.
I remember watching you struggle through like a 45-pound dumbbell goblet split squat. And to your credit, man, you stuck with it. And I remember King coming in that summer and being like, "Hey, Dunny hit 95 today in summer ball." I was like, "All right, he stuck with it. I like it."
Yeah.
So
yeah, it clicked. So I appreciate you for that.
And you haven't gotten rid of me since. I appreciate it.
No.
So jumping back, so you were drafted out of high school. You were, you're kind of hard on yourself in terms of your size and all that, but you were a draft pick out of high school. What went into the decision to attend Boston College? Were there's a lot that factored into that decision for you, or was it kind of a no-brainer to go to school?
Yeah, a lot of it was actually what we just talked about. Was I physically mature enough? Was I mentally mature enough? Was I emotionally mature enough? So my dad's a very big realist, and we sat down, and he basically said, "You're not ready to go to work." Mm-hmm. And we fought on that it was like a 3-day process after the draft of, am I going to go? Am I not going to go? And we fought and fought and fought. And eventually I realized that I wasn't ready to go to work with grown men at the time. And I mean, I barely could make my own spaghetti, let alone have to pay my own bills, find my own apartments. Like, there was no way I could take care of myself. I think the baseball would have eventually worked itself out. but I am very glad that I made the decision. So once I kind of slept on it and thought about it, it was an easy no-brainer to go to school.
This is a big moment for Ed. You just publicly acknowledged that your dad was right. We should take a step back.
Yes.
I have 3 daughters, so I'm hoping someday when they're in whatever career they choose that they'll go on a podcast and acknowledge that I at one point made the correct decision on something.
Yeah, I'm hoping he doesn't listen to this. I don't ever give him credit for anything.
I'm gonna send it right over to him.
So.
So talk about like what was it about BC that, I mean, you went in, obviously you're a guy with some arm speed, and then,
Mhm.
next year you were a closer, coming in big situations. And then obviously the year after that, you're a Friday night starter. What were the big things that you picked up there? Like, who was impactful for you, and what were the lessons that were the most significant for you in that college experience?
I think it was a little bit of everybody. I mean, Coach Gambino did an amazing job with helping me mentally stay focused and mentally believing in myself, trusting in the process were a lot of things that we talked about every day. And then when Coach Foster came in and we started really hounding mechanics and pounding the zone and attacking hitters and how to read swings. And then when Mike and I really focused on that and really started to take that into our own hands and learn from each other, is when I got a lot better.
I think that's something a lot of guys overlook is like you and Mike are peas in a pod. Like, you guys go everywhere together, to this day. How significant was it for, to have a guy that you came in the same class as, and you guys kind of pushed each other all the way through, didn't you?
Yeah. Oh, yeah. I mean, I still joke about it. I tell a lot of people about it. When I first starting, the first person I went to was Mike.
Mm-hmm.
So to that moment, I hadn't really seriously started since my senior year of high school. I had a couple my sophomore year,
Mm-hmm.
a couple my freshman year. But I had been pitching out of the pen that whole time prior to that. So I remember we were in the room and I was like, dude, I got to start on Saturday. Like, I have no idea what I'm doing. So can you like walk next to me and take me through your whole routine and like how far I'm supposed to throw, how many pitches I throw in the bullpen? Cause I have no idea what I'm doing. And legitimately, Saturday at BC against UVA, I'm warming up and Mike King is right next to me. Like, every step I take back, like, okay, you're good at this distance now, Dunny. Like, let's go back to another 120 feet. Long toss here, make 3 or 4 throws, take it back. All right, pull it down. Now you're going to get on the mound, throw your flat ground. Now your bullpen. Coach Foster just shut his mouth, and King basically walked me through the first 2 weeks of being a starter again.
I love that, man. The best teammates are just like assistant coaches, aren't they?
100%.
So I know you mentioned earlier, and I've been aware of it too. We have a mutual friend in Alan Jager. You guys have communicated a ton over the years. Let's talk about a little bit about what Alan's impact was on you, and different people have different definitions for what long toss means. So how do you approach it? How has it evolved over the course of your career?
Yeah, so I just started really getting close with Alan, but
Mm-hmm.
I had been following his long toss program for years. I mean, my dad, again, baseball junkie, looked it up and said, you know what, let's go try this. And I really liked it I think we started at 14.
Mm-hmm.
And I obviously wasn't able to throw the length of a football field right off the start, but just being free, like, my entire career has just been be an athlete, let your arm move, let your body
Mm-hmm.
move. Don't try to put yourself in the confines of robotic movement. So that's exactly what his long toss program promotes, and it's freedom in the arm. So I could be making throws from what I feel like is a low three quarters, almost sidearm, to get the ball to a max distance. But come to find out when I get older, that's my arm slot. That's where I need to throw from. That's where I'm going to get the most velo instead of trying to hike my shoulder up and throw over the top. Like my dad always used to tell me, get on top of the ball, throw over the top. And then once we started to do that and understand that the freedom in the arm is what's going to build the arm strength. It's going to build the whippiness. I've stuck with it and haven't really gone back since.
How have you modified it as your workload has changed, right? So you obviously, you were a starter in high school. You kind of almost forgot what it was like, went to the bullpen, then on a 7-day rotation in college, and now obviously in pro ball on a 5-day rotation. It's hard. A lot of guys struggle with knowing how much to push, how much to hold back, because you want to be 100% on that 5th day, but at the same time, you want to make sure you're doing enough to preserve your arm speed. How do you structure your throwing on a 5-day rotation?
Yeah, again, it varies, man. So obviously, Jager's big thing is listen to your arm. Your arm will tell you what it wants each day. So I'll just go out, I'll make a couple throws at 60 and be like, you know what? I mean, sometimes I can even tell getting out of bed, like, shoot, feels pretty good today. Like, let's go get it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'll just stretch it out. It could be day 1 or day 2, but usually day one, I'll try to stretch it out as far as I can post pitching. More is just a stretch, get the blood moving. Extreme arc, just really getting out in front, let the arm be free. Day two is usually my worst day of soreness. So I've realized that that's the day I need to taper back on throwing a little bit. So I cut the distance, and cut the volume a little bit. And then I'm back to full strength on three, open it back up, throw my bullpen, and then four is super light, and then get ready to pitch again on five. And on the fifth day, I'm full speed, letting it eat as far as I can.
Do you let it stretch out really, really far before a start, or do you have a distance that you go to before you start doing your pull downs and your pen before the game?
Again, it's feel. If I had to guess, I'm somewhere about 280, 260, 280. But I get out there. I mean, my catchers get mad at me sometimes, depending on the day of how far I actually go.
And you mentioned that you're kind of like a day two soreness guy, jumping back to King. We talked on the podcast with him. He's a real loose guy, right? So he has a different approach for bouncing back. It's a lot of regaining stability and not a ton of aggressive stretching. You're the exact opposite of the spectrum, right? You're a guy who tends to get stiff and lose motion if you're not careful. What are some of the things that you've used, both proactively and reactively over the years to feel like you're bouncing back well between outings?
Yeah, for me, the big thing I've learned is keeping my mobility. So, like you said, King's loose, I'm stiff. So I'm doing a lot of sideline windmills. I'm doing a lot of wall slides. I'm doing a lot of J-band stuff. And then also the long toss on top of it is another mobility thing for me. And in 17, when I was with the Mets, I tinkered with not long tossing anymore. And I ended up getting hurt. Velo kind of dropped a little bit, and my arm action wasn't as clean. Went back to it in 18. Velo jumped back up, arm speed jumped up, and was healthy all year. So I think honestly, the long toss and staying on top of the shoulder stuff that you put in our warm ups and all that stuff really is what keeps me going and keeps me healthy on the field.
And you're also like a good example of like a proximal to distal guy. Like all of your range of motion at your arms and your legs is better when the core control is where it needs to be. And I think a lot of people overlook that as they think they just need to do a bunch of lat stretches and hip flexor stretches and all that. But a lot of times if you take care of this stuff in your core, which can kind of slip in the wrong places when you're standing around the outfield, shagging BP and all that stuff. So I think that's something that you've whether you realize it or not, you've improved on a ton over the years. It's just your ability to manage your rib positioning and all that. But I'm actually curious. Let's talk about the biggest adjustments. Obviously you're a draft pick out of high school. You're a first rounder, as a junior in college. What do you think? I mean, there are tons of guys that throw 95, right? And, you had a little bit more in the tank than that, but what differentiated you as a high school senior versus a college junior? What made you a first rounder as opposed to a guy that went to college and was a 25th rounder,
I think the ability to land the breaking ball. I had a breaking ball I could throw for a strike whenever I wanted. And then I had a put away breaking ball as well. That was pretty good. But I think honestly what took it off the charts was the changeup. When I started to work on that, I'll never forget it. It was Harvard. We were playing on Wednesday, freezing cold. Foster's like, you have no slider, no curveball today. You got fastball, changeup. Go figure it out. And basically he told Shortino without even telling me, like, we're going straight changeup. And I had to force it, and like that finally started to click. And then I had to start at UVA, and I was able to show that I was able to carry velo, because the big thing surrounding my name out of the draft was, is this kid going to be able to hold his stuff? Will the slider stay sharp? Will the curveball be able to land in the seventh? Will the velo still be 95, 96 in the seventh? And once I showed that over the course of, I think it was 8 starts, I think that's what kind of solidified everything.
What was it with the changeup that for you was so hard to learn? Was it just that you had never really given it the time of day to really throw it in game situations? Or was it that you had to experience with, 50 different grips?
It's a little bit of both. I mean, I had to find the grip that was comfortable for me. I mean, coming up, that the first pitch I learned was the changeup, and it was really good as a kid. And then I learned the slider at 14, and I kind of just fed it and like abandoned the curveball or abandoned the changeup because I had a new toy. And then when the velocity came, the changeup really went out the window because I didn't need it for a while. And then when I got to college and I was relieving, I was in these high leverage situations trying to go and play in the postseason. It's like, I'm not getting beat with my third pitch. I know it. Shortino knew it. Bo knew it, and Coach Gambino knew it. So we were going 2 pitches, and I was going right at people. So I kind of lost the development and the process part of it. But once I got back to trusting it and throwing it as much as possible, I mean, I would implement it into my throwing program. Every third throw would be a changeup until I got back to about 150 feet, just to feel it come out of my hands and kind of manipulate the baseball. So just trusting it and using it is the big thing for me.
Now, and I'm also curious. So obviously, you get to pro ball. Everybody all of a sudden is the best player in the history of their town. So there's a, kind of the wow factor. And, within a couple of years, you're a minor league pitcher of the year for the Mets, and obviously like a key trade piece in that Robinson Cano and, Edmund Diaz trade. So what made you into a minor league pitcher of the year and, thereafter a big leaguer? What was the biggest change from the time you were drafted to now?
I got back to kind of being myself, just being athletic, attacking hitters, not really focused on mechanics. I got back to having a couple checkpoints within my delivery that I could simplify and be able to feel on the mound and make adjustments quickly in game. And then also, I think getting back to long toss, like I said, in 17, I got away from long toss. Velo drop stuff got loopy, and I got hurt. So when I got back to long toss and the stuff kind of ticked up a little bit again, and breaking ball was sharp, fastball had life, and then you add my delivery being repeatable. It was just a recipe for success, and I was pretty fortunate to have some.
Absolutely. What's the they often say it's harder to stay in the big leagues than it is to make it in the first place. What do you think that the key competencies for you are to be able to stick as a big leaguer?
I think for me, it's going to be just be myself, not try to conform and be quick to change based off having a bad outing. Knowing that I got there for a reason. Be myself. Be consistent. Be open to learning from veterans. Being open to learning from coaches. And finding a program that sticks with me and is right for me and for my body. And once I get that and kind of learn the day-to-day stuff, I think I'll be all right.
I'm curious for you, and we've had this discussion with a few different guys. Like, I've talked to Scherzer on, just in passing in the gym. We had Brad Hand on recently. I'm always curious, like, different guys throw sliders in different ways, right? You have some guys that, talk a lot about manipulating the baseball. Some guys treat it like a curveball where they're just trying to get to the front of it. You have other guys that just like grip it and rip it. When you learn that, I mean, you said you learned it at 14 and it kind of came quickly. What was it about the slider that felt so natural for you? Was it just that you had arm speed and you could trust the grip you had, or did you have to play around with it over the years?
So I kind of just gripped it and ripped it. And then all I think, even thought and think to this day, is fastball as long as I can. When the ball gets in front of my face, get to the front of it like a breaking ball, and pull the heck out of it with my middle finger. That's really it. And now I've kind of learned how to manipulate it with pressure and moving my hand up and down the ball a little bit, but it's gotten way more consistent and it's become a pretty big pitch for me. So yeah, grip it and rip it, and then pull the front if I can.
I feel like that's a Scherzerism. I remember we talked about that on King's podcast. You and Mike picking his brain in the dugout that day at Palm Beach Gardens High. I know Mike talked about what the biggest takeaway for him was, like, he throws his slider a lot in catch play. What was the biggest takeaways for you from that conversation that you had with him that day?
Yeah, I mean, in regards to the slider, just the spinning of a bullet. I never thought of it spinning like a bullet before. And when I talk to a lot of guys about it now, I can understand that when I throw it good, I can see the spin come out and see the break. And when I make it spin like a bullet, it has the break. It has the sharpness that I want. So on the days where I can't feel it, that's exactly what I go out and do. All I want to do is see the spin of a bullet come out of my hand from about 40 feet. So, taking that away from him was huge. And, I mean, that's really all we talked about was the slider on that day, but just getting the spin down and getting the feel down, and just like the changeup, you got to keep practicing it to get it to where it needs to be.
I'm curious. You've obviously, like, you've bounced around. You've been in the bullpen and you've been a starter. Who are the guys that you grew up watching, and who do you like watching, like, nowadays?
Grew up watching Mariano Rivera, Pedro Martinez, Andy Pettit, Roger Clemens, guys along those lines. And
this is fitting.
Now,
your podcast number 45, so it's good that you're a Pedro fan.
Oh, love it. I love it. I actually just saw him the other day. But nowadays, I love DeGrom.
Yep.
I love Scherzer. Garrett Cole is disgusting. I really just appreciate everybody. Everybody brings something different. So, I mean, starting wise, those guys really jump off the charts to me. But I love watching anyone. If there's a good game on, and I just appreciate good pitching. So whoever's dealing that day, I appreciate it and love to watch it.
So actually, this is a timely question. We're recording this right before your bullpen. So walk me through
Okay.
your pre-bullpen routine. After we get off this call, what are you going to go do over the next hour?
I'm going straight to our warm up that we do in the gym.
There you go.
Foam roll, roll out on the lax ball, hit my 90-90 hip shifts, all that stuff. I can't do serratus slides and stuff, but probably try to get a lat stretch with a J band, manipulate some stuff here and there, but to the best of my abilities, do my warm up and then get a good long toss. It's hard being indoors into a net, but one of the beauties of Jager's program is it's all based off your arm. So I just throw the ball basically as high as I can, trying to mimic throwing 300 feet or 280 feet. And then once I feel the arm is moving free and moving easy, I'll pull the baseball down and be ready to get on the mound.
How many pull downs do you think you let eat on your way back in on a pre-bullpen long toss?
6 to 10, more towards the latter part of it. As I start to get a little bit closer, I'll be about 80% when I'm out at a good distance. When I'm out about 200, I'll be at 80%. Gradually increase the percentage, more focused on being explosive in front of my face with my arm. So once I get back into 100 and shorter, I'll probably pull down a little bit more and throw about 5 to 6 there, 2 to 3 more at 60, and then I'll crow hop a couple off the mound. So I count those as pull downs too.
I like it. And then once you get on the mound, what's your game plan on a pen for tonight? How are you approaching it?
Scripted set. I'm going to my season scripted set. I'm going to go 3 fastballs glove side, 3 fastballs arm side, 3 changeups, stick a fastball away, run a fastball up, change up, stick a fastball, go to the stretch, 2 fastballs glove side, 2 arm side, 2 changeups, stick a fastball, spin 2 breaking balls, stick another fastball, put away breaking balls, and then finish on a well-executed heater on both sides of the plate.
I like it. And is that for you? I mean, obviously, like a glove side fastball for most guys is the hardest pitch to execute, right? Is that why you start there and finish there?
Yeah, that, and it's also, that's the pitch that lets me know that I'm locked in and I'm synced up and everything's working, because like you said, to get it there is very tough, and to execute it there with no run, no cut, just a true backspun 4-seam fastball glove side. You got to stay behind the baseball. Your arms got to get out in front. So that's what lets me know I'm feeling good and I'm kind of locked in.
I like it. All right, so we got to go to a mini lightning round here. This is the fun part of the show. And
I love it.
All right, best team or favorite teammate of all time?
Ooh, King.
Yeah.
King.
You had to say that. And tell me why. You already explained it a little bit earlier, but you got to elaborate for the folks that don't know Mike King.
Because first of all, he'll be upset that I didn't say his name. I'll receive a text message as soon as this airs. But no, King see me through the ups and the downs, even in pro ball and everything. Everybody on that team was amazing. I was close with everyone on the team, but I think my relationship with King has gotten a lot stronger once we started to come down to Florida and we lived together even more, and just talking about stuff that we're going through in pro ball and keeping each other motivated. So, Kings have a very special place in my heart right now.
I like it. All right. If you could go back to the teenage years and give some advice to a young Justin Dunn, what would it be?
Get in the gym
sooner.
Yeah. Start working out.
I was going to say, is that wisdom you've imparted to your younger brother as well?
Yeah, but he's just like me and he's really stubborn, and doesn't want to listen, but he's also growing. Like, he's growing way faster than I thought. I think he's about to go through another one right now. He was like, I'm so tired. So I don't know. He's 6'6" right now. So hopefully he wakes up tomorrow. It's like 6'8". That'd be fantastic.
That's proximity bias. It's hard to hear advice from big bro and parents.
I know.
Sometimes too. So that'll come around in time. We already asked the question about pitchers you like to watch. If you could take one pitch from any pitcher in baseball, what would it be?
I want DeGrom's heater, Pedro's changeup. This is tough. Kluber slider.
There you go. We don't know whether it's a slider or a curve. It's been called a lot of different things, so we'll call it a slurve.
All right, we'll go Kluber's breaking ball.
All right, there you go.
Dang, and Mariano's cutter.
It's pretty good.
Yeah.
Nice, man. So I'm curious for you. You get spring training here in the next week or two. For you, how many bullpens do you like to have before you actually get to spring training? What makes you feel confident before you roll in there?
Anywhere from 6 to 8. My first year, I threw like 15, and I was gassed because I didn't realize how fast spring training gets moving and how fast they get guys on the mound. So 6 to 8. This year I want to be a little more ready than usual. I want to be kind of game ready from day one. So I'm throwing 8, but anywhere between 6 to 8, I'll be happy with.
I like it. Well, this was awesome, man. I really appreciate you taking the time. Folks can find you on Twitter. It's Dunn_deal19. And it's the same thing on Instagram, right?
Yeah, just 35.
All right, Dunn_deal35. All right, man.
Yes,
Thanks
sir.
so much for taking the time.
Thanks, Eric. I appreciate you.
Good luck in tonight's pen here.
Thank you.
Thank you for joining us for another episode of the CSP Elite Baseball Development Podcast. If you enjoyed this episode, we'd be thrilled if you'd consider subscribing to the podcast and leaving us a review to read on iTunes. We welcome your suggestions for future guests and questions. Just email elitebaseballpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you for your continued support, and we'll see you next episode.